Hi everyone, Courtney Roulston here. Now I'm going to show you now how to make a really lovely freeform tomato tart. I'm talking golden, buttery, flaky pastry with sweet, jammy burst tomatoes. Now I'm going to be using Perino tomatoes in my tart for two reasons. One, well, they're the best tasting tomato you can buy. And two, from the 20th of January through to the 16th of February, 5 cents from every 200 gram punnet sold at Coles is going to be donated to the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden Foundation. And that's right up to $100,000. These are much needed funds to support the foundation. Along with Coles, I am a massive supporter of the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden Foundation. It's all about getting kids in the garden and learning how to grow, harvest, cook, and share delicious seasonal produce as part of the school learning. Now with the tart, we're going to start off by making the pastry. We're going to start with 200 grams of plain flour going into the food processor. Along with that, I'm going to add in some baking powder, a little pinch of sea salt. Because tomatoes love a bit of cheese, I'm adding in about 25 grams of parmesan cheese that I'm just going to freshly grate in with the flour. Now that the cheese is in, I've got 100 grams of cold butter that's just been cubed up. Pop that in. Pop the lid on the food processor, and you just want to pulse this until it looks like sand. Now that the butter is worked through the flour, I'm going in with 125 grams of cold cream cheese. This is going to help bring our dough together and adds a lovely texture into the pastry. Pop the lid back on, and I'm going to blitz this until it forms a ball of dough. How easy is that? All you need to do now is to tip this out onto a clean board, bring the pastry together. You'll get a really lovely smooth disc of pastry. All you need to do is just to wrap up that disc of pastry, pop it in the fridge and let it rest for 2 hours. While the pastry is resting, I've got a large red onion here that I've just sliced up, a couple of tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil in a hot pan. We're just going to cook this down for a couple of minutes till it becomes beautiful and soft. This is going to go on the base of our tart. Season with a bit of sea salt. Just give them a couple of minutes. That is what you're looking for. And now that the onions are cooled and my pastry is rested, we can roll this out and start filling up our tart. And I'm just going to roll this pastry out. You can make any shape tart you like. I'm going to make a nice big round tart, around 1/2 centimeter thick or 5 millimeters. All right, now that the pastry is rolled out, it's in a rough circle, and I guess as the name suggests, free form is exactly that. It doesn't need to be perfect. So I'm going to really quickly and carefully transfer the pastry onto a lined tray. Now the first thing going on the bottom of the tart, this might surprise you, but I'm actually putting on some Vegemite. Now the Vegemite adds a really lovely savory umami flavor. Those sweet Perino tomatoes are going to go great with the salty Vegemite. So a little smearing on the bottom of the tart is just a little surprise for people when they bite into this. Of course, if you really don't like Vegemite, you could use some Dijon mustard instead. Leave yourself a 5 centimeter border around the outside because we're going to fold all this up once everything's in. Now to prevent the bottom of the pastry getting soggy, I've got here 1/3 cup of semolina. This is a fine semolina, and I'm just going to scatter this all onto the base of the tart. So when our tomatoes bake and become beautiful and bursty, any juices are going to be collected by this semolina and not making our pastry all soggy on the bottom. Your gorgeous softened onions. Try and get everything in a nice even layer, leaving that border all around the outside. Next piece of the puzzle is some fresh ricotta cheese from the deli, and just break this over. This is going to make a nice bed for our gorgeous Perino tomatoes to sit in. And now for the star of the show, our gorgeous Perino tomato. So I'm using 2 punnets, 400 grams. And all you need to do now is to arrange these over the top of the ricotta. I'm not going to slice them. These are going to go beautiful and bursty as this tart bakes. Little bit like doing a jigsaw. Final little tomato is going in. Okay, all you need to do now is to fold up the edges. So I like to just grab, fold it up over the outside and just give it a little crimp. Fold, crimp, all the way around the outside. Tomatoes love a bit of extra virgin olive oil. This is going to help keep them nice and moist as it cooks. So just scatter a little bit over. Tomatoes' other favourite ingredient is salt. So a little seasoning of sea salt just on the top of the tomatoes. And you could use any herb that you like. I've got some gorgeous thyme here and I'm just going to break some thyme over the top. To help make your pastry really golden, I've got some egg wash here and I'm just going to brush this around the outside. My oven's set at 200 degrees. This is going to take around 45 minutes or until the pastry is beautiful and golden and those Perino tomatoes are nice and bursty. Our freeform tart has come out of the oven and I wish you guys could smell this. That little bit of parmesan in the crust, that little layer of hidden secret Vegemite in there. It smells savory, I can smell sweet tomatoes, and it's just the perfect little combination. So there we have it. That is my freeform tomato tart. Make sure you get into Coles supermarkets and put a punnet or two of these gorgeous Perinos in your basket. Remember, 5 cents from every 200 gram punnet sold is going to the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden Foundation to keep kids cooking and eating well. I can't encourage you enough